Hey guys, my name is Silas. Welcome to my channel for integral bodywork. In the last video, I talked about the shadow and I explained how it works and how it comes to being. And I promised you to give you some techniques how to work with the shadow, because what's good is knowing about your subconscious parts of yourself if you can't reintegrate them. And I want to do just that in this video. So first, if you haven't seen the first video of this series, I recommend you to check it out in order to understand what I'm going to talk about here. So to recap, your shadow consists of all kinds of parts of your personality and traits of your personality and emotions that you suppress because at some point in your life you learned that it's not okay to have them. These parts of yourself are still there, they're still being activated in certain situations, and they tend to sabotage those situations in your life. Now, the problem with reintegrating the shadow is that you actually don't want at all to look at this stuff. That's why it's hidden, that's why it's suppressed. It's something that is deeply contradictory to your self-image, and your shadow is going to take every step in order to keep you from looking at it. And so I want to say here that some of the biggest shadows that you have are probably not going to be uncovered by some technique or gimmick that I can give you, because they're just too big and it's too threatening to look at them, and you're gonna sabotage yourself every step of the way. So in my experience, the only way that this stuff is gonna be uncovered is through life itself, because life has the tendency to throw you into situations where you're faced with a choice, of either looking at something as a problem from outside, so somebody else is to blame, or if I just solve this, then I'm gonna be fine, or to look at what this has to do with yourself and why this stuff is happening to you and what you are contributing to this situation. And if you choose the latter, you have the chance to really look at the pattern of your personality that sabotages your life choices and stuff like that. So the best psychologist I've ever met is life itself. That being said, don't be discouraged, because there's actually a lot you can do with therapy and shadow work, and there's lots and lots of shadows that you can reintegrate, and that's going to make your life a whole lot easier. And the first thing I want to talk about is the 3-2-1 process, because the 3-2-1 process is a kind of condensed version of all kinds of psychotherapies, and in my opinion, the most fundamental process in order to work with your shadow. All right, so let me talk to you about the 3-2-1 process. The 3-2-1 process gets its name from there being 3 steps in reversal. And the 3 steps are what shadows usually go to when they're created, and we're gonna turn that around in this technique. So the 3 steps when a shadow is created is: first, you disown it, you suppress it into the unconscious. Second, you project it into the outside world, so it's the second person part. And third step is you get a symptom emotion. And the symptom emotion from, let's say you suppress anger, you project it onto another person, you get the symptom of fear normally. So that's the third step. And when you want to re-engage the shadow and reintegrate it, you kind of have to go through these 3 steps, but the other way around, because you start out with the symptom, because that's the only thing in your consciousness. You don't know what the shadow is yet. So let's say we start out with, I think that guy's greedy. So that's the third person. He is greedy, and I feel like that's only him. That has nothing to do with me. So if I know shadow work, I can go on to the second person part. So I kind of imagine myself talking to this person and try to refine the nuances of this shadow. So for example, I take an empty chair, which is something that Fritz Perls often used to do in Gestalt therapy. And I talk to that empty chair and try to imagine what the answers would be that I get out of him. So I say, you are so greedy, you never share your wisdom or your money or your wealth or your emotions. You are just a greedy person. And then I imagine, okay, what would he say? He probably would say, no, I don't feel like I'm greedy. I just don't have as much that I could share, even though I would like to do that. Now, the third step, or step number 1, is that I reintegrate whatever I uncovered. So this is the first person. I'm the greedy one. I am greedy. I don't like to share because I don't feel like I have enough to share. So this is the most important part of it, and also the most difficult part, because there's not really a trick to it. You just really have to try to feel into this part of yourself. And if it works out, you will usually get a very strange sensation of a new part that you just uncovered about yourself and a new quality that you never knew before. And also a kind of a letting go and a relaxation, because there's a tension that you can let go in your psyche. And there's something in your life that you can allow yourself to do now. Or there's something about you that you can allow yourself to see now. All right, let me give you a real example from my life. I used to have a big shadow with big cars. So whenever I saw a big car driving by, I used to get really angry because my persona was this kind of environmentally conscious kind of guy. I was very conscious about what I ate, and I was conscious about my footprint and stuff like that. And there was this jackass in his pickup truck polluting the air, not giving a damn, and I got angry. It didn't have anything to do with me, he was just driving by. So had I known that I had a shadow there, I didn't know about shadow work at that time, I would probably say, okay, he is egotistic, he is impulse driven, and he doesn't care about anything else than just his fun. That's the third part. Now, step two, the second person perspective is I try to feel into this guy. Okay, so you're egotistical, you're impulse driven, and you don't care about the environment. And then he might say, no, I actually do care about the environment. I watch out for it in many aspects of my life, but this car is just something that I really like, and I like driving it, and this is a freedom that I give myself. Makes sense that he would say that. Okay, so let's try to integrate that in the first perspective. Okay, I like to drive cars that are fun, even though they might not be the best for the environment or whatever. And so that's actually what happened in real life. There was a situation where I had to drive a big car for work, and I sat into this car and I was high up, you know the feeling, you're behind a big steering wheel and you just kind of feel good. And this is very strange, but I just got the feeling, okay, I kind of get it what these people like about this. Whenever I saw big cars from that point on, it was not a problem. It didn't have anything to do with me. All right, so if I had to summarize this example, I'd say that projected desire for doing something fun becomes anger at someone who does exactly that, who has an impulse and acts it out. So there's a bunch of other examples that I can give you of symptom emotions and their corresponding shadow, and that will really help you connect your own symptom emotions to your shadows. Number one is pressure and drive. And if you watched part one of this video series, you saw that I made an example of Jack and Jim, where Jack wants to do the kitchen and he then projects his drive onto Jim and feels pressure. So whenever you feel under pressure from somebody else, it's actually your drive that is projected onto this person. Number two, rejection. I really like this one. So let's say you're at a party and you feel rejected. You feel like nobody really wants you there. The shadow would actually be, you don't really want to be there. And let's take another example. Nobody really likes me. I don't really like everyone else. I actually hate everyone else. They're a bunch of dicks. So if you can come into touch with this emotion, then you can take back the shadow and you won't feel rejected anymore. It's actually you rejecting everyone else. All right, next up, guilt. Guilt is not a real emotion. It's not an authentic emotion. It's actually projected anger. You've done something wrong and you're angry about that because it sucks to have to deal with a mistake. And if you project this anger onto someone else, you feel guilty. All right, another one would be envy or adoration. This one's actually what we call a golden shadow, because it's not something negative that you project, it's actually something positive. So let's say you're with someone who is just very, very intelligent and you envy this intelligence, and suddenly you feel stupid and ignorant around them. You're actually projecting your own intelligence onto this person, and you feel as a result, you feel less intelligent and the other person looks more intelligent. So the effect actually doubles. And well, if you take this back, you're going to become more intelligent. So no, I'm kidding. But yeah, it's much more fun to take back these shadows. Okay, some more examples include anxiety. I'm very anxious about something. Actually, you're excited about something. Oh yeah, I can't is actually I don't want to. So whenever you feel like you just can't do this, you actually just don't want to. Deal with it. All right, now let me talk about how to integrate shadow work into your practice, because the 3-2-1 process is great, but it's not the most efficient way. And if you have other people to work with, I really recommend you do that, because actually, first of all, you need someone to project on and to get to your shadow. And second, the chance of someone else having the same blind spot as you is really tiny, and someone else can see your shadows much better than you can. In fact, the most efficient way that we found to deal with, to work with the shadow is in groups. So if you have a bunch of friends that are interested in this kind of work, then do it. Make weekly appointments or daily appointments and sit together and be each other's screens for projection and be each other's mirrors and tell everyone else where their blind spots are and stuff like that. It's so much more efficient and actually much more fun. Also, it makes it much easier if someone is there to really push you to that point where you see your shadow, because you're not gonna do that with yourself. If it gets really tough, you're just gonna walk away. I know I did it a lot of times, and if someone else is there to really be a pain in the ass about that, then you're probably gonna look at it at some point. And I know this takes a lot of courage and a lot of trust into the other person, but it's worth it, because the friendships that come out of this are just immensely strong, because you see each other's lowest points and highest points, and at some point there's just nothing else to be scared of anymore. All right, before I go on and on about how great group work is, maybe I'll do a video about it in the future, because it's just such a huge topic and there's so much to say and it's so important. Let me stop here, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. And otherwise, it was great talking to you, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Yeah. This is my shadow.